Hi, my name is Jay Morgan from Dynamic Health and Fitness, and welcome to our Eat to Win seminar series. In today's discussion, we're going to be talking about pre- and post-workout meals. Over the past 15 years in the health and fitness industry, I've been asked a number of questions, and one question that always sticks in my mind is, what should I be eating before a workout? What should I be eating after a workout? And Jay, does it even really matter? And to answer that last part of the question is that it absolutely does matter. Recent studies and recent research has indicated that nutrition plays a vital role in your body's ability to recover from the workout, prepare from the workout, and to get better for next workout. One misconception that we need to talk about is what actually goes on during a training session. Let's say you've been doing your weight training, your cardiovascular, your plyometrics, your speed work, whatnot. A lot of people are under the misconception that they're actually building muscle, they're getting stronger, they're getting faster, quicker, improving their cardiopulmonary efficiency during that workout. And actually just the opposite's occurring. When you're in your training session, you're actually breaking down your muscle. Now you're breaking down your muscle to cause an adaptation period in your body, and that's what you want, this adaptation period or phase to happen, to occur into your body. What that simply means is your body says, okay, you've done this workout, you did all these weights, you did this running, I didn't really like it. You really insulted my muscles. You really damaged my muscle tissues. Now what I'm going to have to do is after your workout, I'm going to have to take the nutrients that you consume. I'm going to have to take that time that you're resting, that you're sleeping, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to rebuild your muscles so that if you do that workout again, I'm going to be faster, I'm going to be stronger. It's not going to be as hard of a workout. And that's what the body's really looking for. It's always looking for a balance in life or a homeostasis. It's not looking for these very challenging workouts. But within that process, we really get the end result of what we're looking for. Increased muscle, increased speed, increased performance, cardiopulmonary systems more efficient. It's that adaptation that actually gets us that result. And that's where nutrition plays a humongous role in this whole effort. Science has indicated that there's actually a metabolic window of opportunity. Metabolic window of opportunity, or more of an anabolic process that can occur in the body. A building up of the muscle tissue can occur. This window, they say, lasts anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes after a workout. And they're even suggesting that immediately after the workout is when the window is at its greatest capabilities. And what I mean about greatest capabilities is when you break down your muscle after those hard workouts, it's your muscle cells that say, I need nutrients, and I need it now. And I want it, I'm sensitive, I need this stuff. And what they're saying is after 90 minutes after a workout, it's almost, the cell becomes desensitized. It doesn't need it as much. It's not going to take all those nutrients and utilize them up to repairing the muscle tissue. So with that being said, we look at it and say, okay, what do we put into the body in that immediately after that workout, or what do we put in the body so that the body's uptake of the nutrients is at its best? One thing to just a brief discussion is the role that insulin has to play in all this matter too. Insulin is responsible for your metabolism. It's responsible for taking carbohydrates, turning them into glucose. It's responsible for the uptake of amino acids. So insulin is that hormone that needs to be ignited, that needs to get stimulated so that it can pull those nutrients. The food that you eat, the insulin will pull those nutrients in and push them into the muscle tissue. So we need to look at it first and say, okay, if we need this immediate nutrients, we need this carbohydrates and we need this protein to repair the muscle after this tough workout, well, we really need to stimulate our insulin. And what do we do to stimulate the insulin? And that discussion starts to look at, well, what type of percentages, what type of food should we be eating? Science has said that there needs to be a proper ratio between carbohydrates, protein, and fat. They believe that anywhere from 1.5 to 4 parts of the food that you eat actually before a workout, and I know I've talked a lot about the recovery after workout, but before your workout and after your workout, 1.5 to 4 parts of that meal should be carbohydrates to 1 part protein. Fat should be low, if not zero. You don't want the fat into that pre or post workout meal because that's going to slow the digestion process down, and then it's not going to spike that insulin level which pushes the carbohydrates and the protein. So fat's one of those ones that we really want to stay away from. Now looking at that last, back into that percentages, the 1.5 to 4 parts carbohydrates to 1 protein. They feel the general person, the anaerobic or the weight training type of athlete or the power athlete, they're a little bit maybe 2 parts, 3 parts carbohydrates to 1 part protein. Where you get up to that 4 parts carbohydrates is more of the endurance athlete, where the activity is taking a longer duration, that aerobic activity. Science is saying that the potential or the need for maybe 4 parts carbohydrates to 1 part protein is optimal. So let's now look at it and say, okay, we know that we break down muscle through a workout. We know that there's this metabolic window of opportunity that the body's muscular cells say, we want nutrients, get them in there so we can fix the muscle that we damage, so we can increase the efficiencies of our workouts, we can get bigger, we can get stronger. So now we also know, boy, insulin plays a role with this. We have to really trigger the insulin response, so we know, and what science is indicating, in order to trigger that, carbohydrates is a very important nutrient to trigger the insulin levels. It needs to be anywhere from 1.5 to 4 parts carbohydrates to 1 protein. So the last thing, and I know what everyone's really interested in is, well then Jay, what should I be eating pre and post workout? Under pre-workout meals, science is saying anywhere from 2 to 3 hours that you should have a full, whole food meal before your workout. Obviously that's dependent on what time of the day that you're working out. If you're working out at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m., we're going to have some difficulties and we might go into more of a post-workout type of meal, pre-workout, because of time frames. But let's say if you're working out at 9 a.m. or you're working out at 5 p.m. or 6 p.m., they're saying anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, have a whole food meal. And what that means is real food, chicken, potato, rice, fruit. They're saying that because 2 to 3 hours, that's what the digestive process is going to take place in order for that food to be utilized for energy before your workout. So a sample, if we're looking at it, we're saying we need to be at, let's say, a 2 to 1 or a 3 to 1, 3 parts carbohydrate, 1 part protein ratio to look at. So let's say we're having a workout at 7 p.m., so at 4 or 5, we're going to have this meal. It could be 3 ounces of chicken, which would supply us with about 21 grams of protein in that. And then it could be a cup, half a cup of rice, which is going to supply us with about 45 to 50 grams of carbohydrates. Right then and there, I've done a real simple meal. We have 45 to 50 grams of carbohydrates versus 20 grams of, or 21 grams of protein. So we're at almost a little bit greater than 2 parts carbohydrate, 1 part protein. Notice that what I had missing there, and I mentioned chicken because it's more of a lower fat type of protein fare, is that if we were having this steak or we're having peanut butter or we're having whole eggs or something of that nature, then we have to deal with the dietary fat that's also involved in that. And we know the dietary fat is going to slow the digestive process down, so that eating that meal 2 hours, it might not have broken down in time and ready for the workout. So just keep that in mind. If it's something earlier in the morning, we could be looking at a bowl of Cheerios, 1 or 2 cups of Cheerios with a cup of skim milk, and then having along with it some berries into the Cheerios, something of that nature. But just when you're looking down, whether, depending on obviously time of day and such, not like that, at least 2 parts carbohydrates to 1 part protein, 0 fat. Now, as we're getting closer to the workout, we're getting, let's say, 30 minutes or 15 to 30 minutes before the workout, we're thinking about energy at that point. We might be looking at a simple sugar, and also something that we're saying, okay, we need some immediate energy.